Bathed in the relentless glow of royal attention, the relationship between King Charles and Camilla has always carried an air of complexity and quiet debate. What once seemed like an unshakable union now appears to have reached an unforeseen turning point, sending ripples of surprise through both Buckingham Palace and the wider public. King Charles and Camilla are said to be moving forward on separate paths, a shift few address openly. Yet many quietly sense. What unfolding forces brought them to this crossroads, and what truly transpires behind the velvet drapery of the crown? Here is the deeper story. No one can truly pinpoint the moment when the quiet fractures first began to surface. Was it the unrelenting pressure of expectation, the intricate dynamics within palace walls, or perhaps the growing distance formed in unspoken moments? If this perspective resonates with you, drop a 1-inch the comments. If you see it another way, leave a 0 below. And as you settle in to enjoy the story, don't forget to hit subscribe. Your support fuels the journey and inspires even more compelling stories ahead. Camilla did not depart in the shadow of defeat, nor did she cling to what time itself had already quietly altered. Instead, she withdrew with calm resolve, leaving behind the symbols, the scrutiny, and one of the most closely watched unions in modern British history. Charles, still standing at the summit of authority, continues to move with the stature of a monarch. Yet beneath the crown remains a man, carrying the silent weight of responsibility while learning to face a kind of loss no crown can ever shield him from. No one has been cast as the loser, and no one stands as the victor. What lingers instead is a bond that once appeared timeless, now slipping quietly into stillness like the final pages of a royal legend turning without a sound. There are no public declarations, no clarifications, and no hints of what the future may hold. The world watches in stunned silence, while social media erupts with countless reactions spanning disbelief, debate, fascination, and even unexpected celebration. News broadcasts continue to resurface fragments of Camilla's past in slow motion. Her unreadable smile beneath the lights of a charity gala in flowing green silk, her composed presence beside Charles during the coronation, while a single question quietly ripples through every frame. Why? What truly unfolded behind closed doors? Once defined by the shadow of history as the third presence in the story of Charles and Princess Diana, Camilla now appears to be standing at yet another uncertain threshold, where the past and the unknown seem to meet once more. The Queen's path has unfolded like a living saga, layered with longing, endurance, and relentless scrutiny. From a quiet, complicated romance in the 1,970 seconds, through long years beneath the weight of public judgment, to finally ascending the throne in 2022, each chapter has carried both triumph and turbulence. The words spoken by Diana in her 1995 BBC interview continue to linger in collective memory. "There are 3 of us in this marriage, so it's a bit crowded." A line that never truly faded with time. Nearly 3 decades later, its echo still stirs old emotions, reopening the shadows of one of the monarchy's most sensitive and enduring chapters. Though now wearing the crown, Camilla has never truly stepped beyond the vast emotional legacy left by Diana, a symbol to many of compassion, vulnerability, and quiet strength. Her apparent withdrawal at this moment casts light on a sobering idea. Even the most powerful throne may be too narrow to contain 2 enduring stories at once. What currents, then, have carried the woman who once stood firmly against the world for her love to this uncertain crossroads? Was it the silent machinery of palace life, a conscious act of letting go, or simply the natural closing of a chapter shaped by time and circumstance? Within hours of the stunning development, all of England and much of the world began retracing the long, intricate trail of history. Scholars, analysts, and media voices hurried to dissect every detail, as though carefully uncovering the fragile layers of a royal legacy. Attention once again turned to the widely reported private call controversy of the early 1990 seconds, a moment that brought hidden emotions into public view. From there, the spotlight moved back to the painful unraveling of Charles and Diana's marriage, the profound loss that followed in 1997, and Camilla's quiet yet resolute return to public life in 2005 when she stepped into the palace corridors amid a nation still wrestling with unresolved feelings. Each of these moments now feels like a scattered shard of the intricate Windsor mosaic, with Camilla seen both as the focus of public doubt and as a quiet emblem of endurance through hardship. Yet Charles's words seemed to carry more weight than a simple announcement. They felt like a subtle signal of a deeper unraveling beneath the surface. Quiet speculation speaks of strained exchanges between Charles and Camilla in the days leading up to the revelation, when a bond that once withstood immense pressure appeared at last to have reached a breaking point. In a rare, unguarded moment, Charles is said to have shared with a trusted confidant a thought weighted with quiet doubt. "I don't know if I can keep her beside me without unsettling the crown itself." Those hushed words, drifting through the palace like a cold current, seemed to crystallize the unease surrounding the situation. And with that, the largest question emerged. What force could have led Camilla, who once relinquished so much to stand with Charles, to finally step away? Was it a deliberate act of restraint, a personal choice made to protect the throne, or simply the unavoidable surrender to memories that time could never fully erase? Within the hushed passageways of the palace, subtle murmurs began to rise, coded phrases, passing looks, and unanswered truths suspended in the air. This is no longer just the account of a queen stepping back. It is the unfolding of a monarchy poised at a defining threshold, where influence, allegiance, and fracture converge in a tense and unforgiving dance. Camilla may have withdrawn from view, yet the turbulence left in her wake is only beginning to take shape, casting uncertain waves that now ripple through the very heart of the royal family. And somewhere within the quiet folds of memory, Diana's shadow still seemed to linger, a wordless reminder of a crown that was never truly destined for her. Buckingham Palace, with its towering stone and endless hallways, had long carried the stillness of a sealed chamber. Yet in the days before Camilla's revelation, the atmosphere grew dense and uneasy, as if the very walls were suspended in silence, bracing themselves for the moment when everything would inevitably change. The normally reserved palace aides were said to sense an unsettling change in the air. As queen, Camilla was believed to have gradually broadened her involvement in ceremonial matters, quietly sparking areas of friction with Charles and nudging the monarchy toward an uneasy phase. One insider suggested that strain between Charles and Camilla had been quietly accumulating for months, as she became more present in discussions surrounding important royal affairs. One evening, within a secluded dining chamber where soft candlelight stretched uncertain shadows across composed yet distant expressions, Camilla is said to have encouraged Charles to reflect on the course of upcoming public appearances. "Our image must feel stronger," she reportedly expressed with quiet determination. "I need a broader presence to reinforce our public standing." Charles, weary yet composed, is believed to have replied with calm firmness, "You hold the crown beside me, but the weight of final responsibility is mine. There are lines that must remain untouched." Those words, though delivered in an even tone, landed with the force of an unspoken rupture. Camilla, her composure giving way to a sudden surge of emotion, rose without hesitation, her emerald silk trailing softly behind her, as she departed the room in silence, leaving an absence that felt louder than any confrontation. The true fracture followed soon after, when Camilla independently moved to withdraw a planned address by the Princess of Wales. Catherine was said to have felt the message leaned too heavily into contemporary themes and drifted from the monarchy's long-held traditions. The decision sent a quiet shock through the palace and stirred a wave of unease behind its closed doors. Kate, long admired for her quiet dignity and unwavering commitment, had carefully shaped the address to reflect the heart of her charitable mission, an essential part of her public role. When Charles learned of the sudden change, he requested a private meeting with Camilla in his study, where generations of solemn portraits looked on in stillness. There, he spoke with rare intensity, his words controlled yet charged with emotion, making it clear that such an intervention had crossed a line and should never have touched Catherine's work. "You are quietly fracturing the harmony of this crown," Camilla answered with an uncharacteristic flare of resolve, her voice carrying a sharpened edge. "You stand so readily for them, but who stands for me? I surrendered an entire life to be here, Charles. Yet at times it feels as though I am regarded as nothing more than a necessary exchange." The exchange reached its emotional peak as a sharp sound struck the tabletop, echoing through the room like a final signal. She then turned away and departed in silence, leaving Charles alone amid the heavy stillness that followed. The strain soon reached beyond ceremonial concerns. Camilla was said to press for greater influence in internal matters as well, from staff appointments to adjustments in the royal timetable. At one stage, she reportedly asked Charles to remove a long-serving advisor whom she felt had shown her a lack of regard during a private exchange. Worried by the mounting pressure, Charles is said to have drawn a clear line. "I cannot guide this institution by the sway of personal feelings alone," he responded with measured firmness. The weight of his response struck a tender place within Camilla. "You speak only of the crown," she answered, emotion trembling through her words, her composure barely holding. "But you overlook the truth. I have given my entire life to stand within its shadow." Caught between personal devotion and royal obligation, Charles found himself growing ever more alone. In a rare private moment at Clarence House, he is said to have shared his quiet sorrow with a long-trusted friend, murmuring with heavy reflection, "I care for her deeply, yet at times I fear that love itself may be my greatest burden." She asks for more than I am able to offer, and I no longer know how to hold on without losing who I am. Once those words were spoken, they seemed to move through the palace like a chill in the air, awakening quiet speculation of a fracture not only within a marriage, but within the very foundation of the crown itself. Meanwhile, William and Catherine, fully sensing the growing strain, chose to remain at a careful distance, intervening only when the situation left them no other choice. A quiet insider later shared that during a private exchange with Catherine at Kensington Palace, William confided, "This is my father's trial to carry. Our role is to ensure the crown does not fall beneath its weight." Catherine, calm as ever, listened in silence and gave a measured nod, but the concern was unmistakable in her eyes. She understood all too well how every abrupt decision, every unchecked impulse from Camilla was like a stone dropped into tranquil waters, sending widening circles of unease that risked pulling the entire royal household into uncertainty. Within the half-lit passageways of the palace, quiet murmurs began to swell beneath the stone arches, signaling that a turning point was drawing near. What had once been a private strain between Charles and Camilla was no longer confined to closed doors. It was now reshaping the destiny of the crown itself. On the morning of September 15, as Prince Harry's 40th birthday arrived with the cool breath of a London autumn, soft winds stirred fallen leaves around the historic silhouette of Buckingham Palace. Outside, the city moved with gentle rhythm, but within the palace walls, the atmosphere felt dense and unmoving, as if time itself had paused in anticipation of what was to come. Harry, once seen as the lively promise of a new generation, the younger son with an infectious grin and an untamed streak, has since become one of the monarchy's most polarizing figures. His choice to step back from royal life at a young age, the candid global interview, and his deeply personal memoirs reshaped public perception, casting him, for many, as a disruptive presence against the carefully preserved image of Windsor. Yet in the eyes of King Charles III, Harry remains the child he once cradled with pride, the boy whose face would light up at the mention of the royal stables, who listened wide-eyed to family legends as twilight settled over the gardens of Highgrove. In an unusually heartfelt moment, Charles is said to have reached for the phone to wish Harry a happy birthday, a simple act on the surface, yet one laden with quiet significance. It was his personal gesture toward healing, a subtle effort to bridge the fragile space between father and son, and perhaps to soften the public's divided emotions of affection and disappointment toward Harry. For Camilla, however, this gentle outreach reportedly struck a final chord, pushing an already delicate balance beyond its limit and marking a quiet turning point in their strained relationship.